Okay. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to spend this part of the day with us on a topic that is rather very important. It's a matter of life and death topic. Pardon the very morbid humor, but that's that important. And we were just talking, and of course we'll talk more about it. And the idea of the topic is that we know why this happened, and it has happened many times before. But in Bombay, we lost a very dear runner, Viji, and it's not the first time it has happened. It has happened to cyclists a lot. It has happened to runners quite a bit, and it's recurring, all the time. And the idea of having this webinar was to kind of get together, find out on a pan-India basis what is happening. How can we sensitize the authorities? There are some good news. For example, on Eastern Express Highway, they have blocked a part of the road. Authorities are also responding. But the crying baby gets the milk, correct? And unless you cry, you're not going to get safe conditions. So that is the purpose of having a webinar like this, and to get kind of all shoulders to the wheel and see what we can have. In the panel today, joining along with me is Venkatraman from MRR, Mumbai Road Runners, Bombay. Ram and me have been, in the running space for a very long time, when we had more hair on our heads and less fat on our belly. We've been for a long time. Welcome to this, Ram. Thank you very much for joining us. From Kolkata, we have Vernon. Again, very good athlete, regular runner, and I understand that he keeps running in Delhi and in Kolkata and in Nagpur and other cities. So he's going to bring his perspectives from Kolkata. And we have Abhishek Mishra from Delhi, strong athlete, triathlete, event organizer, and whatnot, and author and everything. And we have Abhishek from Delhi. The idea was to have different people from different cities and give a pan-India kind of perspective to what we are going to talk about today. So thank you everybody for joining us. Before we take on with this, my team has put together 3-4 slides to kind of set the background note, kind of set the discussion on the topic. I'll just run through the slides quickly, and then we'll take it up for discussions. Okay, so we have road accidents while running. Be vigilant, be safe. Okay, and a high-level overview. Some statistics that are alarming. Over 150,000 people, road accidents, fatalities almost every year. During the pandemic year, it went down, but not significantly. Like it became 130 or something, and instead of 150. So even in a pandemic year, when road traffic was very less, we had lockdown for many months, the accidents did not drop down significantly. Most of the accidents are happening between the ages of 18 and 45. And this is because people are driving, people are reckless, people are careless, people think that, nothing will happen to them. So that is another thing. And the loss in 2019, which is the last year we got statistics, was 91 billion because of traffic accidents, compared to UK's 37 billion. So UK had 37 billion of losses because of traffic accidents, whereas India was 91 billion. But when you look at the numbers, you will see that they're a totally different story. Most road accident deaths in 2021. India had 155,622 to be precise. This is 21 figures. Again, we were in the pandemic. It was like the entire year was not, economic activity was very low. Same year, China had 63,000 deaths. United States had 46,000 deaths, I think gun shooting deaths are probably more in United States than traffic accidents. But the United Kingdom had only 1,600 deaths. Okay, so that is this. It is almost like 100 times more than the UK. Where almost everybody travels by car and the car density is much higher. So these are again very very telling statistics and this. If you take the road accidents per thousand population, if there were 1 lakh population, our road accident is 16.33. So 16.33 people die per lakh population. We should bear in mind that a large portion of our population is not in urban cities. They are in rural areas, they are in villages, they are in tribal belts, and so on and so forth. And if you took that into consideration, then our accident per 1 lakh urban population will be even higher. Whereas if you see USA, Russia is of course got a lot of this. If you take USA or UK, the urban population, the rural population is very less. The urban population is more, and even then, it per lakh it is only 2.81 deaths in the UK, whereas it is 16 deaths in our country. If you take per 1 lakh 10,000 vehicles, so per 10,000 vehicles, number of vehicles, how many accidents? USA is 4.3, China is 5.7, Russia is 8.1, but India is 26.7. Okay, so we believe strongly in karma. We say jo hoega dekha jayega kind of approach. So very high numbers, very high figures for a country that is underdeveloped. Very very. There's only some African countries and all are more than this. Okay, when you look at it. What are the top reasons? There are reasons: overspeeding, drunken driving, breaking traffic rules, poor road conditions, and distractions while driving. This has become a very large reason. People are texting. Last week, I got banged by a Ola guy from the back. The traffic was absolutely slow. It was like crawling. But he came and hit me forcefully. So the only reason that has happened is because he was probably looking at his phone while, and he didn't realize that I had braked. And he came and, kind of hit me this. So people are distracted while driving. Mobile phone is one of the most important reasons. And of course, there are preventive actions that you can take, and we'll talk about it. We'll come to this slide later, okay? And we'll revisit this slide later. So this is the lay of the land. This is the high number statistics. Whether you run or you don't run, people are getting killed. Okay, it just so happens that some of them are runners, some of them are walkers, and some of them are cyclists. Okay, so if there are 1,55,000 people running, dying, and if there are 365 days, every day 50 people are dying because of road accidents. Okay, either they are in the car or they are on the road, but they are dying. Depends upon this. So that is the number. That number is very high. Some of them happen to be runners, some of them happen to be walkers, some of them happen to be cyclists, and some of them are just people banging a lorry, banging a car, or whatever it is. So that is the background of the operating. That is the lay of the land. So with these few points, I would like to ask Ram first at a high level, from an infrastructure level, from a city planning level, from if you have to go to the authorities and ask them what to do, because the guy who's drinking is drinking and driving, the runner is running on the road. But what can we do from an infrastructure point of view? What are the issues? Why do you think these accidents happen, and what can we as runners, stroke walkers, stroke cyclists do to reduce this kind of incidents? Ram, over to you first.
Yeah, thank you, Venkat. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So talking of the infrastructure development which has been happening since last so many years, we're getting the metros and the bullet trains and all those things are coming up. But everywhere you see what is happening is that there is a shrinking space for the people, the common man, So that's not happening to that extent as it should happen. We have expressways and we have highways, and we have seen read a report in newspaper a couple of weeks ago that the new Samruddhi Expressway from Nagpur, it has had almost 900 deaths in 100 days. So that's like, you're making more highways, you're giving them permission or sort of license, okay, go ahead and speed. Even the early days of Bombay Expressway, if you remember, the number of deaths was very, very high. And until they then came out with some solutions and all those things. So in the whole holistic development thing, the people, the common man, the pedestrians, the walkers in the street are getting hit because on one hand that the roads are being built for vehicles. Vehicles are given more prominence than people, and then you have no space for the people to walk. The whatever footpath is there is either broken down or it is taken over by hawkers or urchins or people sleeping on the street and on the night. So there's virtually no place for people to walk. Secondly, also we have seen the big menace now actually is happening very frequently is people the wrong side driving. So you try to walk on the road and say you look at certain side depending upon the signal, but suddenly a vehicle comes from a totally different opposite side. Wrong side driving is very frequent and it's resulted in couple of in a few deaths also recently. So that's a big menace which the traffic police has to tackle. And then talking of what we can do, we have as Mumbai road runners we have laid down some guidelines. What runners should follow that has been already placed on the MRR group. Ultimately we have to do something because it's our life. Our family is depending that okay, once we go out in the morning 6 o'clock or 6:30 to go for a run, we have to come back alive. So they don't want to see something like that. What happened to the late Raji recently? So that's a big issue with the running thing. And also talking of the on the parks and gardens. Many people say, why don't you go and run in the parks and gardens? There are so many, but there are the parks. I don't know about other cities, but Mumbai doesn't have any parks or gardens. And as somebody said, we're marathon runners. You can't expect us to run round and round a 200-meter park or a 400-meter track. That's not possible. We have to run on the road because we need that at least on the Sundays. We need to run long, like minimum 15 kilometers to 20 kilometers more also. So we have to run on the road. So the roads have to make roads for us. The traffic police are who are responsible. They have to ensure that there is no speed driving, drunken driving, and speed driving taking place during the early morning hours. They take care of during the midnight, 12 o'clock. They have come with the breath analyzer and all that. But during the morning hours, when we go out for an, I have seen several times, there are a lot of partying going on still in the morning also. So that should not happen, and the police should take more action. And also, we want that, what they have done in the Eastern Express Highway, if they can carve out running space or space for runners, walkers, cyclists for minimum 2 hours every day, free of traffic. So that will be a great sort of boost to the running people. Thank you.
Thanks, Ram. Vernon, how is the scene in Kolkata? I mean, how do you think runners, cyclists in Kolkata are coping, and can you give us some perspective of what happens there?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thanks for this opportunity, Mr. Venkat. So in Calcutta, as we have seen in many of the cities, it's quite similar only in terms of running safety. You have a lot of intrusions, especially from these drunken drivers. Drunken drivers can be two-wheeler or even a four-wheeler. So we don't forget the two-wheelers also. So when it comes to drunken drivers, it can be even on a one-way. So I personally got hit about 6 years back in 2016 on a one-way where I don't expect a vehicle to come from behind, but a vehicle came from behind, a kinetic Honda, and hit me up. So then I had to get my entire upper jaw replaced. I did not have my upper jaw. So maybe I didn't look like this 6 years back. So complete surgery was done, and that's how it happened. So it's a same thing which is happening everywhere. So though we have designed or devised certain strategies and certain SOPs way back in 2015 on how to run in Calcutta, we find that it's still happening in other places. But yes, the intensity has come less, but there are accidents. There are many such things which are coming out of control of the runners also. Same thing with cyclists. Sometimes, especially since lockdown, the number of cycles, if the statistics was also given, I would appreciate. The number of cycles sold in the country are the highest in 2020 and 2021, especially in India.
Yeah.
A lot of the budding cyclists have actually gone up like shooting all kind of growth rates. It's exponential. So a lot of cyclists have come into the scene, and that time there was no other traffic. In 2020, from maybe April, May till about December. Then post December, the number of cyclists further increased, and now they had to face the traffic, which is something they were not used to. So they've started cycling when there was no traffic. Now the traffic is there, plus the runners are there. So that's a little bit kind of a menace right now. Teaching the cyclists, sometimes you should not shoot the red light. You are also equivalent to a motorist, say, because somebody else will think that there won't be any movement and cross the road, and you are cycling. So those kind of things have to happen. So these are the such kind of things which are there in the infrastructure, apart from the infrastructure, which we need to also inculcate amongst the cyclists, amongst the runners. And to answer your first question about the infrastructure, the macro level which you are asking, on the macro level front, like we were all about asking only give a patch of road or somewhere where it is mentioned only for runners for a few hours, couple of hours in a day. You find in many cities. I travel to Nagpur very often and I run in Nagpur. There is a 1 kilometer stretch. So we have run even 15 kilometers, 18 kilometers in that 1 kilometer stretch up and down. It's in one of the prime locations. So similarly, we have only cyclists and running along the platform in Bhubaneswar. I run in Bhubaneswar as well. So all these places, even in being a B town or a C town, whatever you may call, there are because of the reason of a commissioner is a runner or an assistant commissioner as a cyclist, it has moved in. The civil services people are also into the sport. So now we find many civil services people in all cities are also into the sport. We should make them understand first. And once they are in it, automatically things will fall in place. It's all about hitting the right chord at the right time. Yeah.
Thank you, Vernon. Abhishek, you were mentioning earlier that you have got about 5 or 6 friends who have, passed away. They're cyclists. So, what is the scene in Delhi, Gurugram like?
Yeah. Hi, thanks, Venkat. Yeah, so what Vernon has said or what Ram sir has just shared, it's been cycling and running I'm seeing in Delhi NCR since 2010. So it's been almost like say 13, 14 years. I have lost at least 10 cyclists, known cyclists who used to cycle with us. And like it's not that cyclists who just started cycling in 2 years, they're not aware about say how to cycle, what kind of safety gears to wear. But there are cyclists who have been cycling for the last 10 years and are responsible riders. They know when to overtake, they know when to speed up, whether to stop, how to uncleat and all this. So what I feel, and not only Delhi NCR, I think all across the cities, either while running, cycling, or while organizing the race. Okay, my experience was that it's also the behavioral the responsible behavioral part of every human as a driver. So suppose when I got hit by by a motorcyclist who was going wrong side, he was not even expecting the kind of speed I will be riding at. So when the driver, so it's a very common habit that when they're going and they have to take a left to go and enter a cut, they don't imagine that I'll be riding cycle at a speed of say 30, 35 or 40 kilometers per hour. So they think that, okay, by the time the cyclist will go, I'll go and take a cut. So that whole assumption of that relative speed is also not there while cycling. Now into the running part, I think there is some ego of these motorist people also, which comes into play, saying that we have paid the taxes, we are driving, so it is us who will cross the roundabout before the runners crossing us. So they don't. So that respect of human life, I think, is missing in India more than anywhere else. If I've gone to do triathlon races or Ironman races all across the world, I've seen people have respect for human life. So if you're crossing zebra crossing, if you're running through it, they will stop the car. They will let you cross, then they will go. Right. So in India, we have this, I think, and mostly, if you ask me in Gurgaon where I live, last 1 year I'm trying to do this thing. I have seen parents driving wrong side, like you said, like Ram sir was mentioning, or Vernon said that people are driving wrong side early morning, especially, right? So what I have noticed is that parents who are coming to drop their kids to school at 6:30, 7:30 early morning, most of them are driving wrong side because it's a chaos on the road, right? And to reach the school early, they drive wrong side. Now, this is what they are teaching their kids also. In their subconscious, without unintentionally, for them, driving wrong side is fine. So once I was cycling and I asked a friend, and we saw a BMW, coming out of one road and entering Galleria from a wrong side. And we were like, look at these people, driving like one of the most costly cars and educated and all. If they are driving wrong side, any any person who's come from a remote area or a rural area who's come to Gurgaon, Delhi NCR, उसको लगेगा यार ये अगर BMW वाला उल्टा चला रहा है तो मैं कल को रिक्शा उल्टा चला सकता है या मैं Uber का अपना स्कूटर उल्टा चला सकता है. And that is how we learn, right? So if somebody who's come from a village जिसने Uber का या Zomato या Swiggy का ड्यूटी कर रहा है, वो बोलेगा if a Audi guy or a Mercedes guy is driving wrong side in the morning at 6 or 7, even I am allowed to do that when there's no traffic. And this is where we face the issue in the morning, right? I've seen motorcycle guys coming wrong side and then blowing horn, and I'm like, this happened 2 weeks back in Gurgaon, and I'm like, why are you pressing the horn? The road is all empty. He's like, why are you running on the road? You can also run. So they try to give excuse to justify what they're doing because they've seen the higher educated class also doing the same. So I believe there's a lot of behavioral pattern which is there. So there are 3 people I think who are involved. One is the civic bodies, second is these people who are driving, and third is us runners. So infrastructure wise, like Ram sir said, and Vernon mentioned that we need to have somebody doing the breath analyzer test in the morning. On Gurgaon Golf Course Road, there are places when you go out to run at 4, 4:35, even till 5:30, you will see not only like 40-year-old, 50-year-old people who are mature enough, kids who are 15-year-old are smoking up, they're drunk, and they are there to eat food at 4 or 5 in the early morning next to the shops. And there are police cars also. There are PCR cars standing, but they're standing just to see that nothing happens. But no one goes and checks that these are underage kids. One of our runner friend in Gurgaon lost her husband because one 17-year-old guy was drunk and was driving at the speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Right? So we have seen, and these guys, they drive fast, they do stunts, they video record, they make reels, which gets unsafe for us and any kind of a male runner or female runner on the road, right? So that civic bodies have to take this initiative. Either they get road safety officers, volunteers, somebody to keep a check. I think if there's an initiative where we ask cyclists that, okay, any cyclist who want to volunteer to become a road safety officer while you are cycling on that road, and they are given some information which they can relay to 200 number or something, where we can catch these people, or they can attend any kind of medical situation. There can be a number of ideas which can be worked. So that is civic bodies. Now these people who are driving or riding, I think there should be some initiative to teach them or tell them about the behavioral change. I also used to drive or ride bike wrong side, and I'm accepting, till 2010 or 11, when I was in my early days of working or doing, I used to go like, okay, 200 meters, let me go, and then we'll go on the right side. But as and when I started running and I faced the issue that somebody is coming wrong side and I'm irritated, I'm like, others will also feel the same when I am driving or riding wrong side. And that's where my behavior changed. And I stopped throwing, trash on the road, or driving wrong side, or riding wrong side, or getting drunk or driving or something like that. So I think we need to drive a campaign where these motorists, be it two-wheeler or four-wheeler, understand. And there is no such, I have seen lots of ego hassle happening, what Ram sir mentioned. They said, why don't you go and run in the park? Roads are not to run. So if roads are not to run, roads are also not to go and do stunt and make reels or drive at the speed of 140, right? So there was a discussion which I had with one very senior official in Gurgaon when they made the 16-lane. I have never seen highways at 16-lane, but we have Gurgaon Golf Course Road, which is a 16-lane road including service lanes. People used to drive at like 150 speed for 7-kilometer patch. And then when accidents starts happening like haywire and major accidents, then they started putting on the same road. These guys said, we have made the road so that people can reach the airport in like 5 minutes. What's the hurry of reaching the airport 5 minutes? And when they saw the accidents happening during lockdown and before, now there are breakers on the same golf course road. There are signages saying 50 kilometers per hour. There are cameras to catch your speed. This is very basic. Living life peacefully and safely is very basic. But because of this convenience and this adrenaline of making city very fast and racing and all, we forget. Like I spoke to one of my relatives, a district judge, and I'm like, how can we promote saying Swiggy or Zomato or XYZ delivery in 10 minutes? what's the rush? Because in that rush, these Swiggy or Zomato guys, they drive or they ride wrong side without helmet, early morning, late night, and that's where we met with many accidents, right? So I think these behavioral changes also needs to be addressed, apart from the infrastructural changes, which we as runners can only do, talking to these people who are driving. And then our part, which is, which you have mentioned on the slide, Ramachandran mentioned that there are circulars they have released on the MRR group that we should run against. I think runners know, most of the runners, 90% or cyclists, they know how to keep themselves safe. Unless there's somebody who's very novice, is not even imagining, like Vernon said, that he was not even expecting somebody coming from wrong side on a one-way road, right? So I think these are a few things which needs to be done and taken care, so that we don't see any other running or cycling friend died on the road.
Thank you, Abhishek. I want to add one thing. I have seen in many cities, I've seen in Bombay also, I've definitely seen in Chennai, that there are no slopes, there are no hills. The entire city is flat. So the only way you can do hill training is to run on flyovers. And in Chennai and even in Bombay, there are many parts, central Bombay, for example, they find it difficult to come to Bandra or Pedder Road to come and do the slopes and the hill training. They run on the flyovers. If you go in Bombay early morning or Lal Bagh and those flyovers, you'll find runners running back and forth on the slope of the flyover up and down. Now, as it is, the flyover is 2 lanes, and then the vehicle speeding in the morning, and on top of that, there's a runner. So there is no desegregation of users. Runners on one side. Same thing happens in Chennai. People are running on flyovers to do. Otherwise, they have to go to St. Thomas Mount, which is a hill near the airport. Otherwise, they don't have slopes, or they have to go into a treadmill in the gym or do staircase running in the building. So anyway, so that is this. Another thing that we came to infrastructure and this is that for cyclists, especially an additional danger is that in many places the municipality has put the stormwater drainage, the grating in alignment with the road, not across the road. They put it along. So if you have got a especially thin tire, there have been cases where the tire has gone into the grating, and of course the guy has flipped over and gone and had an accident. And my friend Firoza, she couldn't join us today. She's been carrying out this campaign with the Bombay municipality that the iron drain grating must be put across the road and not along the road, so that your tire doesn't go this. Something as simple as that, something as what I would consider as normal as that is not followed. And I have seen sometimes even I also ride cycle occasionally, that sometimes the gratings are just put crisscross. Jaisa mila vaisa dal diya. There has been no plan of doing it correctly. So that is an additional danger in terms of the infrastructure that is prevalent in the cities. Now coming to runners, what can runners do? I mean, we know all the things, but like Ram said, we are runners. For example, if I want to do a half marathon, I have to run from Bandra in Bombay till Nariman Point, and then I come to 19 kilometers. And if I come back to Churni Road, I come this. There are 156 parks in Bombay. The BMC maintains, but each park might not have a diameter of more than 250 meters, 400 meters. 400 meters is a full track, correct? So most parks are like 100, 200 meters circle. And how can you keep running? And then there are people walking also on that in that same park, correct? So how can you keep running there? How can you keep doing that? How can you do long runs, continuously there? You just can't do it. So you have no choice, if you ask me, but to run on the road. So you have no choice. You have to run on the road. The road is what it is. The Swiggy driver, the school parent, everybody is riding on the wrong side. What can you as a runner do? What are the precautions? What can you do? What are the simple trips that people ignore? Vernon, over to you.
Yeah. Okay. Rightly pointed out by you on the infrastructure. One more point on infrastructure is, which I'd like to add, if you can allow me, is we need not spend anything new for the infrastructure. What is there, we can use the existing infrastructure only. Like the authorities telling one particular road, for example, a red road, like which is as good as a Janpath or something, for one side is kept as only for runners for 2 hours, 5 to 7 o'clock. It's already done in many cities. As I told you, it's happening in Nagpur, it is happening in Bhubaneswar. Maybe here need not be the full road, but only one half of the road, which is having one 1 kilometer stretch or half kilometer stretch. So that can be one of the solutions instead of making any new infrastructure, which I do not think they will immediately listen to any runners or plea at this point of time, unless we are part of some election campaign or something. So existing infrastructure, we need to just make the rules bend a little bit so that these things are being held upon. So that's on the other point. Okay, now as you asked, what are the things as a runner which we can do? Certain rules we put forth and put it on our Calcutta running page way back in 2015-16 when a few incidents happened. Are like every time, any point of time, only minimum two runners should be together. So even if something is there for one person, the other person is there to immediately help and take him or her to the hospital, get whatever required. Number two, run on the opposite side of the traffic, because we are not able to avoid doing our runs in the parks. Number three, we try to do in the kacha side of the road or in some pavements, like the easy runs. So at least one run is taken care of. Or in a park may not have more than 300-400 meters, even a complete circuit. So one of the runs, try to do it in a park, try to do more number of loops, or use the kacha side of the road or a grass. There are many places where our guys even run on the grass. It's only about 300-400 meters, but they do about 10-20 loops. People run in tracks. So why can't you run in the grass, on the corners of the grass? So use that. Number five, we told everyone, don't wait for somebody else to come and educate. You are your own ambassadors. Ambassadors of what? Our own safety. So apart from being ambassadors for a particular drink, for a particular gel or X or Y, we are ambassadors for our own safety. So these are the things. So you only need to educate. So you take it onto you. It's like shutting down a mission. If a mission shuts down, what will happen? Like nothing is going to work, right? So consider like that. So for the mission to continuously work, that the mission means your body to continuously work, you need to be your own ambassador. So be the ambassador. So you be more vigilant while running, see the traffic. So all the time you are against the traffic, and not to run with the headphones on in training runs. Events, you do whatever you want. Training runs, not to put the headphones. Some people told we can't run, we've not been used to. So then we brought in the rule, bring only one headphone. Then they told, no, we have got a wired headphone. Doesn't matter. So because that, in 2015-16, most of them had wired headphones and Bluetooth just came in. So put one headphone on one ear and the other ear is open. So you can listen. So if that is only for, if you cannot run at all even without listening to some kind of music. Otherwise, no headphones while running, and run in pairs, run against the traffic, run on kacha side of the road, at least 1 or 2 runs a week, and you are your own ambassador. These are the few things which we have inculcated in people. You can run in 5, 6 also, but any point of time 2 will be there. Otherwise, we can't occupy too much of the road. 2 and behind you will have another 2 or whatever paces. So later on, we even identified within a group, okay, these 2 are similar pace. Okay, you 2 are the partners. Then you 2 are the partners. We even identify to that effect. Otherwise, it may happen one person is at a 5 pace, another person is at a 540 pace. So you may not be able to run together continuously. So even we identified amongst runners kind of pace and set that apart. So these are the things which we initially did and kind of following till this date.
Excellent. Ram, what are your thoughts? Over and above what Vernon has said, or is there anything peculiar to Bombay as opposed to Calcutta?
Actually, everything is what he said is same as what we have also recommended to our runners recently post the Viji's incident. Run in groups, run against the traffic, and so all those things are more or less same. Run wearing a good sort of translucent t-shirt or something, so it's visible to the driver coming from the opposite side. So all those things are more or less same. So there's nothing much we can do. Carry an identity card, so in case for some kind of an identity ban, so in case anything happens, so somebody can call their family, all those things. So nothing. All cities are same. All running groups are same. So I agree with Vernon on that.
Thank you. Before I ask Abhishek to add something, I want to add specifically for cyclists. Cycling is probably more dangerous than running in our city streets. Okay, one is that you're at a very high speed, so you're practically a projectile at 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever speed you're doing on that day. Correct? So you're practicing. Plus, and you're not fully protected. Your motorbike rider is probably more protected than a cyclist, because a cyclist needs to also have ventilation and cool himself down. And traffic is what it is. Nobody cares for you. And then there's the speed breakers, there are these gratings, there are these loose paver blocks, and all kinds of things. Dogs coming in the middle, children running into the street, car doors opening suddenly on the wrong side.
Mm.
I mean, the huge amount of danger points for cyclists as opposed to runners. So cyclists are at a greater peril as compared to runners. So Abhishek, what are your views? What should users do on the road, cyclists, walkers, runners?
So obviously there are all these 4 5 basic points which Vernon mentioned, Ramsar said are common. As an individual runner, what all you should do, not using music. If you're using it, use one side of the plug-in on. I think there's one idea which can be implemented in every city, and it has just come to my mind because there are areas. So if you look at one city, okay, I'll talk about Gurgaon or say Delhi. I think, and every city has on and off 10 to 15 active running groups. It can have 10 runners or it can have 100 runners running on one day or the other day on a weekday, right? Somebody does training on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Somebody does Wednesday, Friday, whatever number of days. But if all these active runners who are leading the group or who are also running individually but are very active on social media, if they can come together and define areas and spaces. Okay, so say if I talk about Gurgaon, all these people who live in Gurgaon, if they come together, there are areas where you can run, and I'm saying designate that area. Pass it on to all the running groups, all social media, saying people who want to do their long runs, do it from say morning 4 o'clock, depending on their time. 99% people train on the same time zone. So from 4 o'clock in the morning till 7:30 or 8 in the morning, these are the areas where we'll be running. Depending. So in Gurgaon, we divided in 5-6 places where people live. Basis east, west, north, south. You can run on Golf Course Road, Leisure Valley Park, nearby Extension Road, or on the new side of the Gurgaon, or on Palam Vihar side. Now, what happens? All these areas, when you designate, so you say there are 6 pockets where there are these. This is the stretch of road, could be 5 kilometers, 6, 7, 8, 10, and people can run in these areas. So what happens? If I say that there are say 2,000 runners running every day in Gurgaon, these 2,000s are divided into these 6 pockets. So even if you have to drive or ride and reach that area, which is 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers, whichever is in the close proximity of your house, go there and run that area. And what happens? You create, slowly you create an ecosystem where, like on Golf Course Road, each security guard of different society or bank or office is ready to help the runners. Be it you need water, you need anything, you want to keep your phone. I have seen lots of security guards, as in when we reach there, they're like, "Sir, kya chahiye? Sir, pani chahiye? Sir, kuch rakhna hai aapko?" Because they have been seeing runners running there, every early morning 2-3 hours on that road, right? And that's how I'm saying that's how it becomes one of the safest, because then slowly you become a waving friend. I know that guard's face and we wave every day, right? So tomorrow, like one of my running friend, Manisha Khungar, right? So Manisha starts her run at the Hilton Hotel, suppose. One day when she came back, her tire was punctured, right? Who came to help the first time? Not the guards, the auto wala. It's an auto stand. So the auto guy says that, "Ma'am, I'm seeing you running for last 3 years from the same point." He was there calling people, getting the tire changed and everything. So if they can create a bond in 3 years, if we design 6 pockets, which we have, but I'm saying for new runners who are coming, who are not aware, for female runners who are running alone, right? If we have 6 pockets and all these running groups agree that, okay, we will run in this area only, nobody else, nowhere else. So then for that 2 to 3 hours in the morning time, you have people, somebody or the else running, and then you have that affection towards runner when you see them in danger. So runners, cyclists, and you know that these are the 6 areas where we are running. We can create a special ecosystem or a zone for us in a particular city, which becomes better. At least psychologically, we'll feel we're in a safer zone because we know that people know runners, or people know. In Bombay also, whenever I used to run with Milinder, other people from Shivaji Park to say Nariman Point, I have seen lots of coconut wala or restaurants wala who knows runner. they offer them water, they offer them help. So I believe all the running groups can do this initiative of designing running pockets in your city and circulate it in all the running groups in social media, saying please run in these areas from morning 4 to 7. Another initiative which happens, which Coach Ravinder started, we have water zones on weekend, because most of the runners run on Saturday and Sunday, right? So there is a patch where most of the runners run from Galleria Market or say Golf Course Road. So they have donated money. Sometimes somebody sponsors, and there are 3 water stations at every 3 kilometer patch. Now these 2 volunteers, they stand there on Saturday, Sunday, and runners know that okay, we will get water every 3 kilometers in this patch. It also provides a safety. A female runner running alone crosses 1 water point, the 2nd water point, the 3rd water point, and if that runner is not coming back, or if says that okay, I am feeling something, she has a place to approach and talk to people. So I think these two initiatives can be accommodated or can be utilized or used or incorporated in every city to make it more safer for runners.
Good, very good. Yeah, excellent. One another 2 things came out of that, Abhishek. One is that maybe runners must cooperate and mark off zones or running routes, whatever you want, and buy some barricades and put it as kind of a indication, not stop the traffic, but at least the traffic knows that now go slow because runners are on that road, kind of thing. And if we have this 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometer, whatever is available, then I'm sure that most of the other users will also understand, be cooperative, like the auto wala, like the security guard, kind of thing. And I'm sure that, see, people generally, some people always, do tinglebaji, they shout, hey, uncle, savere bhagne ko gaya kya? Those kind of hecklers are always there in every city. But most of them appreciate what we are doing. There is a certain respect for the guy who gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning from the guy who's going back at home at 5 o'clock after the night party. He still feels respectful for you. So that is one thing that can be done. The other point before I throw the floor open for questions from the other participants is that, I have told all my groups that at all intersections, please walk. And I found that it is at intersections that a lot of accidents happen, because you want to kind of run or cycle past that intersection, and there is some auto wala making a turn or car making a turn. He's got a mission to do, you got a mission to do, and 2 matter cannot occupy space at the same time, and inevitably there's an accident. In BKC, I know of 3-4 accidents. They're not resulted in deaths, but they have resulted in bad fractures, knee replacement, guy not being able to run for 1 year, those kind of things, which are still not acceptable. So my one rule is that at all intersections, please walk.
I think I would like to add that all the coaches, if anybody who's listening here on the live or this, all group admin people and coaches should tell their trainees that try to get the PB on the event day and not on the training day, because I have seen many runners last 15 years of my endurance sports triathlons or running. People are like, they will not stop. And if they're stopping, they want to pause their watch. Why? Because these 5 seconds will add on to their training time.
Right.
When you're training, you know what you're training for, right? You know that, okay, if my run says 60 minutes in 10 kilometers, I had taken a break of this much. You need to perform on a race, not on a training day, I think so. I would like to, so at least every, these crossings people should walk, right? As Venkat says rightly.
That's a very valid point. Abhishek's point is a very valid one. Like this, we have seen all this from the lockdown time, from 2020 onwards, the concept of time trials, all those things. Maybe it was successful during the lockdown when there was no traffic, but the moment it all opened, even now we find people at all corners or at turns, people are at their full speed. So reserve everything for the event. That's what we always say. And sometimes you don't get it at the event, because event you have more runners than the empty road. Sometimes you don't get it during event. So this is a very valid point. Reserve the best for your event. This is not required to do any such heroics during training times. Yeah.
We don't know which 4-wheeler is also doing a time trial while you are crossing the roundabout doing time trial.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. The floor is kind of open for questions. If somebody else wants to participate, add something that they feel they need to touch upon. I have allowed you all to unmute yourself, so you all can unmute and participate. Ashok, I see Ashok here. I see Satya Tripathi here. I see Amatya from Lucknow, Anil Panchal from Kandivali, Borivali.
I think Suvarna has a question.
Suvarna, you have a question? You can put your hands up, you can unmute yourself, you can contribute to the discussions.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Sorry for
Hi,
joining
Suvarna.
late.
No problem.
And thanks to Shilpa that she had sent a reminder.
Okay.
And okay, there is no question as such, but I have seen at the Worli Seaface, because our Pinkathon group, we take the session on the Worli Seaface only. At that time, I have seen the runners, they are running there. They in our Pinkathon, we were taught by saying that we should always run opposite side. But I have seen everyone running they know the behind the cars are coming, but still they are on the road, they don't even use a safer side. We have to circulate this, we have to make sure that, or we have to keep sharing everywhere. Please, runners, because we have to run anytime, sometime early morning, late evening also we run. So this is very important, what we have taught our girls. So everyone should know. I have experience. I have been told, whenever I was there, I have told the runners, like, they have been practicing on Sunday, because we take session on Saturday or Sunday. Please don't run on the road. Like the accident took place, I remember that same place everyone runs. So we have to make sure the runner should not run on that way. They should try to run opposite road. This is just a request. You can just try, Venkat sir. You can put it on your messages. I will also do it. But this was the only thing I wanted to say, because I have seen it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, I do agree, Suvarna, that people are not running opposite the traffic. But that is another infrastructure issue in our country. In our country, what has happened is that we don't have uniform height of buildings. So buildings have gates. And nowadays, in many places, their gates are the complete, because they want the entire, front of the building to have parking. So what happens is that because of the building gate, car entrance and exit, the footpath is continuously broken. And if you go on the Worli side, specifically, every building has got a drive-in, drive-out, and the footpath is broken. So when the footpath is broken, you can't run. No, you come in. The footpath is broken. Somewhere there's a ramp. Somewhere it is broken into, for the car to go in. So you have to again come out on the road. So even if there is a footpath, the footpath is non-existent as far as the runner is concerned. So that is another issue. We don't have smooth footpaths that you can run on. We don't have broad footpaths. We don't have smooth footpaths. Footpaths are taken over by bus stops and MTNL junction boxes and whatever else, and hawkers, of course, and then parking and then washing and everything. I mean, the footpath is the last. The pedestrian has got the last right on the road. Thanks for contributing. Anil, you want to say something?
Yes, Venkat sir. Good evening, everyone. Okay, am I audible? Because
yes,
my network is okay. Fine, thank you. Because I'm in Himachal right now. Okay, so yeah, very interesting conversation and a very interesting topic here, and a lot of good information put in by Vernon and Abhishek, and they are all well known for what they are doing right now. And I want to add, recently, just take the last example, what Venkat sir said, that footpath, for example. Yeah, recently, I think a week back or 10 days back, there was an article in Times of India that footpaths are not even. There is a municipality rule where the footpaths are supposed to be in a certain parameters like the height, the incline, the step. But as you rightly said, the building entry, they have broken the footpath and made the incline very steep, just so that the cars enters inside very smoothly and can get out smoothly. So those things are actually municipalities are responsible to ensure that the footpaths are maintained in the order as they are required to do. So that is one point. Second point is, yes, for example, if I have to say, I think Abhishek has rightly said that there are certain groups should coordinate amongst themselves and go in a group. Like suppose there are 10 groups running, different coaches are there. They all should come and combine and run in a certain patch. I think something like that is already happening, not like officially but in unofficially. Like a lot of group comes from, if I have to give an example, right from NCPA, from Nariman Point, right up to the Chopati or right up to the Worli ceiling. And I think Ram will agree that we also provide, I think Striders, for example, already providing those water station in between certain areas. And this is very good happening. But now coming to from the security point of view, now what we have to put up to the municipality or the road traffic, this thing, just take an example from NCPA right up to Chopati, they can at least close one lane, because I think the roads are broad enough, because I think both the sides there are two lanes, so there are total 4 lanes. So one lane they can close, which is approximately, if I'm not mistaken, it is right from NCPA to Chopati is approximately 6 kilometers. So that is a good enough for a long runner. They can have the loop, and if they like barricade the one lane, it will be very useful.
Thank you, Anil. Thank you.
And coming to Abhishek's point from Gurugram and Delhi, I think they have late night parties. Abhishek, you'll agree. I think I don't know whether you'll agree or me, because most of these party goers, they come out early morning at around 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and they will go to rash driving. And most of them, I'll tell you, because I know a couple of friends in Delhi, they are politically connected, because either the uncle or mamas or chachas, they are working government officer or PM officers, and they think, I'll tell you, they think that, "Arey yaar, mera gaadi ko kuch nahi, koi ruka nahi sakta hai." And that is where the accidents happen. And we have seen lots of politically children are connected, but the accidents are happening in Delhi. There are many Times of India's articles I've read. So I think ultimately we have to, as a runner, we have to say that we are safe.
I think I'll agree to what Anil has said. And this has happened in 2016. I remember we were doing a running event, and the cop was standing at the roundabout, and he stopped one a huge car, and the guy came out, he was drunk, and he's like, "When Prime Minister can't stop me, who the hell are you?" So that happened. But on the second note, what Anil said, I think Venkat sir, we can do one thing, at least for, let's take top 8 cities where most of the runners are, so Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, Gurgaon, Hyderabad, Calcutta. And if we make a Google Excel, and this used to happen, I don't know, this used to happen in 2009, 10, 11, till the time we didn't have WhatsApp and all. I remember Rahul Varghese had created a group, a Google group called Running and Living.
Right.
So when any new runner used to join, they used to ask where to run, and they used to be added in the Google group, and people used to say, if you are from Gurgaon, you can run either at Smriti Vatika Park or Leisure Valley, this is where runners run. I'm saying if we have a Google sheet, because this happens, and it's not only for us who have been seasoned runner running for like 10, 15 years. I'm saying if for 8 cities this happens, and this is not only like, suppose if I'm traveling or Anil sir is traveling to Gurgaon, I'm going to Hyderabad or Calcutta, we do ask this. I go on MRR and I check saying that, okay, I'm staying in Powai, do we have runners? So if we make a Google sheet where we ask these running groups to go and put a section saying 8 places you can run in Gurgaon, like we go and check on TripAdvisor, places to visit. Why can't we have a link which gets viral which says places to run in these cities? And these are the chapters which Anil said that, these running groups can say we run on golf, like on Gurgaon, I can put that people run at Leisure Valley Park, this park, Golf Course Road. This is where any runner who visits from any city can come and run, and we'll see runners running on that route. So then it's safe, it's known, and it gets more popular, among people in different cities.
Good point, Abhishek. Sarika has got her hand up, and Sarika,
sorry,
please,
can I add? Can I
Sarika,
add
go ahead, Sarika.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Abhishek, if it works, what you said, like all the groups coming together and running, it will be wonderful. Because a major block, suppose you see like 100 people running, definitely the car will see that, okay, it's a huge, so many people are there, they themselves will be careful. That will work one time. But another point here is, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but if you ask like officially like 10 groups to come together, then most of the groups are professionally handled. Okay, so they may not want to join because what they will fear is that their members will go and join the other group. That is also
No. I'm not
possible.
asking them to. No, I'm not asking them to join. I'm saying we can allocate areas. We're saying these are the 8 areas. Whichever is closer to your house, you can go and run them.
Okay.
They don't need.
Okay.
They don't all need to come to one area. Yeah.
Okay, you made the point. Right. I agree. Okay.
Hey, we got Sarika waiting for a long time. Sarika,
Yeah.
please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so actually, Anil sir was actually talking about this footpath which was covered. The story was covered very recently in Hindustan Times, actually, and I was part of that story. In fact, I spoke about the Chembur, the Sindhi Society Chembur, and the problems that we are having with the footpath. So, what I was thinking, actually, the media is actually working on these things. They know that we are having problems with our footpath. So why is it that we as a runners, like, if you all have noticed that recently in a Eastern Express Highway, few runners have come together and they have actually kind of demanded that few hours, like 2-3 hours, should be given for the cyclists and the runners. Okay, and it was actually approved by the police also, traffic police also, that in the morning 2-3 hours will be given to the runners and the cyclists, where they will be, they'll be putting up the cameras and everything. So as a runners also, we can come together and we can talk about the footpaths, we can talk to the media. So like, people can take preventive measures with the footpath, because there are a lot of problems. We cannot run on the footpaths, forget about running. We cannot even walk, because there are slopes, you'll see the buildings will be having slopes, for, as sir was mentioning, that parking the cars. Then there are a lot of areas which are, you do not have a footpath, because the buildings are coming up. There are a lot of construction happening. So a lot of big buildings are coming up. There are garbage kept, on the footpath. So probably we can take to people, to the government or to the BMC, and we can get this rectified actually. Or we can just take up some areas where we have a strong hold, and at least we can start with something, and then we can, get doing, it's a long way that we have to get these things rectified. It's not like very easily we can get it, but then at least we should start doing that actually, is what I was thinking actually.
Yes, Sarika. Thank you for contributing. Ram has been leading an initiative to make a petition and to meet with the powers that be, to bring about a lot of such things. And the Eastern Express Highway is really a good initiative that has happened. The traffic police has done it themselves. Whether it'll happen as an organization or whether it'll happen because of the leadership of individual officers remains to be seen. But yes, unless, like I said earlier, the crying baby gets the milk, and unless you keep crying, this is not going to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And all of us have to cry. As organizers, as individuals, all of us have to work towards making running safe for all of us, so that is what should happen. I got a message from Chitu Shetty. As a recent Worli accident, at least 10 minutes, this, and he's so shaken that he cannot run. He fears to run on the road. Yes, Chitu, it has an impact. It's called post-stress trauma disorder, if you want to know. So if you go to a stress and then there's a trauma, then you can't overcome the trauma, and that is likely to happen. And they say that you must, do things like meditation, do things like auto-suggestion, and come back. We want to see Kala Chashma back on the roads, Chitu. and Kranti is saying that there's not a single scratch of 100 meters of footpath in Mumbai which is uninterrupted and even surface.
Absolutely correct. Yes, absolutely correct.
Agree, absolutely.
So somebody said, like we were having a talk, and somebody said, show me 1 kilometer of road, where it is smooth and doesn't have potholes and doesn't have paver blocks and doesn't have, this. And I said the only 1 kilometer exists either on the Sea Link or on the Eastern Freeway, because even flyovers have got potholes and speed breakers.
Yes.
So that is a condition. There is not 1 kilometer of a road which adheres to the standards that the BMC has laid for itself. Even by their own standards, of how a road should be built. They have not been able to build roads and maintain them. So that is the poor state of infrastructure in our country. It's already 8 o'clock, and Shilpa has put her hands up. So Shilpa, last this you can go ahead, unmute yourself and come on.
Yes. So what I wanted to say, so there is this one in Mulund. There is a one good road which is like around stretch of 2.5 kilometers from my house, which is like a only for cycling and walkers and runners, which is a very good. Obviously, I am blessed to have such a road where I can listen to my music and everything. But the issue is that there is a hutment right opposite, and in the early morning, if it is dark and everything, it's very risky to go. So, I mean, there is no police, there is no safety. So especially if once it is after 6:30 or something, then it is safe to go and run and everything. So yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to run in that road, I can guide because that is a very safe road, especially after 6:30 or even the evening before it is dark. So which is a safe road in Mulund. That is what I have found, and that is where I run.
Thank you. Chitu, you want to say something before I close the meet?
सर मैं एक चीज ऐड करना चाहूंगा, जैसे रनर्स लोग रन करते हैं, इस पे अभिषेक को काफी एक्सपीरियंस हो, एक्सप्लोर भी कर सकते हैं। बहुत लोग डार्क कपड़े पहनते हैं, थोड़ा ब्राइट पहने तो क्या होता है कि मॉर्निंग में बहुत लोगों का जो विंड ग्लास होता है कार वगैरह का, तो लोगों का बहुत क्लियर होता नहीं है फॉग वॉग होने के कारण। अगर लोग रनर ब्राइट कपड़े पहने तो थोड़ा सा विजिबिलिटी उनको भी रहेगी और हम लोग भी सेफ रहेंगे। ये भी थोड़ा ध्यान रखना चाहिए।
सर मैं तो सर ब्राइट ही पहनता हूँ, वैसे ही डार्क कर दिया रन कर करके स्किन को।
नहीं, लेकिन अभिषेक बहुत, अब मैं आपको इसलिए बोला कि आपको बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है और आपसे बहुत कुछ सीखा भी हूं मैं। तो मेरा कहना है कि बहुत लोग, मैं बहुत रनर को देखता हूँ वो डार्क ही पहनते हैं।
I think yeah, so Vernon has mentioned also in the beginning, right? So people should be wearing bright color along with reflectives. I think that is very important for cars who are coming from. Many times when these drivers who are driving, they are also very sleepy, because they are driving so much whole night. For them also reflectives and bright color will help. So yeah, I think all runners should. We can have I'll discuss this with you, Venkat. We can have a Google sheet with all this information of to-dos and not to-dos, which everybody knows. I'm saying everybody knows, but I believe over communication is better than no communication for new beginners, right? Exactly. So we can have a circular. We can have a circular saying very basic 5 pointers, brief, which can go viral. We can share as Insta stories on Google, on email, on different WhatsApp groups. And also, I can work on this with you to initiate 8 cities with places, and then we can keep on adding one city, talk to their group members, and get the places added, and then tell people that please run in these areas for the safety of yours and other runners also. Especially this will be good for female runners, I think. If they know there are 8 areas where we can go and run with runners, that would be a great initiative.
That's a great idea, Abhishek. We can individually we can share on our page also, So whatever our contact friends are there, they can see. And secondly, what you said about that Google areas, we can area wise we can tell or we can put up where they can run. That is a good idea.
Yep.
Thank you.
Chitu, do you want to say something? You wanted to say something, but you got this. Okay, he's muted himself. Chitu, do you want to say anything? You are muting and unmuting yourself. Okay, so thank you everybody. Let me close this session. We are past 8 o'clock. We like to maintain time. Thank you everybody. Thank you Abhishek. Thank you Ram. Thank you Vernon. And thank you for coming here, sharing your points of view. It was especially interesting to know what's happening in other cities, because different cities may have evolved best practices which other cities can copy and emulate and take it forward. Ultimately, we want runners to be healthy, live longer, and not die because of running. We
Yeah.
don't want running
Yes.
to shorten your lifespan. We want it to be longer, and traffic accidents can really play, a very difficult time. Um, we have this thing called athlete ID card, which if you all are eligible, please take it. A lot of people carry that card and run. Should something happen to you, at least the card will give you the information about your medical conditions, etc. So do visit YouTooCanRun website, look for the athlete ID card, and if you're eligible, it is free. This. So that is the last thing. So thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot. I will stop the live streaming, and after that, we can hang around for some more time if you want to. And basically, you all can unmute yourself. Thank you, everybody. The formal part of the